Kings look for a win tonight, James. I've got a theory, and there's a lot we got to talk about, man. I appreciate you being able to sign on early because we were listening to the Kings Beat podcast, and I think that's one of the best episodes that you and Sean have put out to date. You guys have really found your stride. It's just a tremendous listen. I want to get to some of the stuff that was in there, but I want to start with how we started the show. And this is my gut feeling on the weekend. You got a game tonight, you got a game Saturday. If somehow the Kings lose both, I think Luke Walton is no longer the coach Sunday morning. Puts the team under 500. And what was it, Kenny? I think they would have lost 7 of 8.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think we might be to that point. I'm not going to for sure say that is what's going to happen.
Sure.
I'm really hoping they don't ruin my Sunday, because back-to-back home games are no fun.
Yeah.
Like I've been here since I think 10:15 this morning, and I will be here until close to midnight, and then I'll have to be back tomorrow by like 4:00. Like my entire weekend is my Friday, Saturday is just completely shut, just because home and home. Like, what's with the home and home back-to-backs? This is the second one already this season. These don't make any sense to me. Like, this was never part of the NBA.
Yeah, they used to never do that, right?
Yeah, never. And you know what? I think for ticket people, this isn't what you want. Like, ticket sales, this is bad. Because if you have one bad game, then, it's going to be tough to sell the next one. Yeah, like, I don't think this is good for anybody. But it also, like, the schedule feels more spaced out. So to get back to your question, yeah, I mean, you only get so many chances. And so I hope that it's not that precarious, but it could very well be that precarious. And, you almost have to pencil in Saturday as a scheduling loss. Number one, it's one of the best teams in the league and a team that's already beat you twice this season. And it's on the second night of a back-to-back, and they are not playing tonight. They played last night. So if you look at tonight's game, this is a tough team, but they're missing their leading scorer, and they're missing like a very good defensive player in OG Anunoby. And so I think that if you're looking at, like, this is the one you got to get, and then you worry about tomorrow. But if you drop both, then sure, there's problems, especially as 7-9 Eastern Conference team, right? That's what these guys are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, I'm not going to say for sure, but like, it's going to be tough. And if you lose all 3 of these home games, Tuesday is going to be a brutal day as well.
There's a whole bunch to that Tristan Thompson the platinum selling album that he produced on Wednesday night that I want to get to. But let me start with this. From everything that you've been able to gather, if anything, how do you think that played in the locker room?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I think they probably had a very hard conversation in the locker room. And then they looked around the room and said, who's going to go talk to media? And Tristan Thompson said, are you guys okay with me going and talking to the media? And everyone in that room probably said, yeah, it's all you, man. It's all you. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I got this. But at the same time, you have to understand what I'm going to say is not going to be nice. And whatever I say there is probably, it's probably something that Tristan had said in the locker room moments before. I think they probably had a moment where everybody had some sort of conversation, but then he came in and like said, look, this is what I'm going to drop the hammer here. This is like Tristan Thompson's been a part of a lot of different types of teams. He's been part of championship teams, but he's also been part of really bad teams. And he knows what this team can be. And I don't know if you guys got to listen to the whole thing, but he had a really interesting segment in that post game where he started talking about the teams they faced.
Yeah.
And like where they stood. Like, we just lost to OKC, who is like 3 years away. They don't want to win that game. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, we just lost to the Spurs. They don't want to win that game. Like, none of these teams were teams that we should have lost to. That's what he was saying. And I thought it was a really like honest moment, but it was also like a veteran kind of peeling it back a little bit and saying, this is the NBA. This is what the NBA looks like when you're in it, and you're not supposed to lose to this team and that team. And these are how we view those teams. And that's not how we as the Sacramento Kings want to be viewed. We want to be viewed as a team that is a playoff team or is trying to fight to get into playoffs, not one of these teams that goes in on a Wednesday night and loses to a team that they have no business losing to. And so I really respected a lot of what he said.
Mhm.
And I hope that his teammates were fully on board, because he said it repeatedly that that this was like his teammates. This is how they feel as well.
Mhm.
And so I think he took some ownership, but he also took some liberties that I hope his teammates are fine with. But at the end of the day, like, what is someone going to go say something to Tristan Thompson? He's much bigger than almost everyone else in that locker room. Like, and I think he would just tell him, hey, that's fine. You can have a problem with what I said, but you
Fine
know,
why?
But I don't
yeah.
even think there's a confrontational guy in that locker room.
Oh, I don't know. Pushed hard enough, I think almost anyone is confrontational. Like,
Well, sure, but was that hard enough? I thought Tristan was real rather than hard.
yeah. I mean, I think you're right. But also the moments where he's saying, like, look, if you need a coach to motivate you, then you're not a man. Like, if you need that, then you're not a ball player.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was one of those moments where somebody says, hey, that's kind of awkward. And, like, I don't know what to say. That's rough. So I think there are people in there that would probably take offense to some of the stuff. And then there are some players in there that, like, they don't take offense to anything and they don't listen to anything, or they listen to everything and they take offense to everything. Like, you have so many variations of, I've talked to coaches that are like, hey, I don't read anything on social media or anything that any of you guys write, because I want a pure look at what I'm talking at. I want to look at my team and see the work that they put in, see the things that they do that I see, not that you see, not that you're speculating on, not that you hear, not that some fan thinks, but what I see. And, like, Walton is one of those guys. He doesn't get into like what the media thinks or anything else. And he wants his own vision of what his team looks like to him. And that's what, I think that's okay. Like, and again, like a Tristan Thompson moment, hey, that was a great moment. Like, it's the most powerful 12. In my 12 years of covering this team, it's the most powerful post-game conversation. And I think it was needed. Somebody had to say some of those things, but if they're not saying those things to each other, then it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Somebody has to, like, take ownership of that.
James, you think, now all eyes are on after, the Tristan Thompson press conference was covered across NBA landscape yesterday. Are these guys going to respond?
They should have already responded.
Oh, and that's why I don't head into this weekend with a ton of, like, I presented that scenario to you, but ultimately I think the Kings are going to win one of these games. Like, I just can't imagine that because to me, you come out, you get it handed to you. If we see a first quarter like we've seen recently, where they just have this bad first quarter, this team's done. Like, how could you hear Tristan Thompson come off of this road trip and then get back home against a team that's going to fight but is beatable and lay an egg? You know what I mean? I think we're going to learn a lot tonight.
I think you're right, but I'll also say this. What team should the Kings beat? Because if you keep lining them up and then they keep losing to them, at what point do you think, okay, maybe they aren't who we thought they could be?
No, we're there. No, you're right. For sure, we're there.
So again, like, what is a winnable game for a team that's 6-9 and
a team that's 7-9? Yeah. that's a winnable game. You're playing a team that's in the same stratosphere as you.
At home. Right. Yeah. And I don't want to hear this, oh, it's the first game back after a road trip or any of that. I don't want to hear any of it. Like, just come out and play. Like, excuses are bad. Like, I don't want to hear a lot of the excuses that are, they become like cliched ridiculousness. Like, at a certain point, you have to go in and you have to win games. And I thought Tristan Thompson saying, we thought we were going to go 4-0. We thought we were going to go 4-0. And he actually said the same thing I said. If they don't go 4-0, he said, if we were going to come back 3-1, I was disappointed. Like we looked at this trip as something where we should have gone 4-0. And I don't think that, like, as someone who's watched this team and covered them for years and years, I kind of looked at it the same way. Like, if this is who you want to be, then don't talk about it. Just go do it. And then you come into a game like against Toronto. Hey, they got a lot of talent. They can beat you. They can beat anyone. And it just depends on if you let them. I thought another really honest moment where Tristan Thompson asked the fans, can you please show up? Because we could use your help. Like, I thought that was a really good moment. And then you look, I see John Bull in here. He posted a picture of of what the Ticketmaster screenshot, and it's horrible.
It's colorful.
We'll be lucky to see 11, 12, 13,000 fans. That's tough. And I get it. Some people don't want to show up to the arena because of COVID and stuff like that. Some people don't want to go through the protocols. I get that. But like this could be a quiet arena tonight. And that's not what this team needs either. Sometimes you need to cheer louder for someone who's struggling and not just be so negative. And so I get why Tristan Thompson did that, why he was asking, like, look, Tristan Thompson's heard for years and years what the crowd is like in Sacramento. Like, let me hear it. Let me see what you got for us, because we need it. We need a pick me up. We don't need a tear me down. We don't want to lose again. And we would rather bring you along with us and have your support than for the, oh no, here we go again, feeling that I think a lot of fans are feeling at this point.
And that's fair. And you're right. But with all due respect to Tristan, and I'm one of those people that I'll be there and I'd be cheering if I was in the regular seats or anything like that. But Tristan, you ain't been here for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? And I know he means well, and I understand what he's saying, but I don't think there's a lot of people who are like, here we go again. Here we go again. I've seen this same story. And specifically, I've seen this same story for like the last 5 years, where we hear all this talk about how things are different. We're going to do things differently. And, our focus is this and that. And you come out, you have a good week or two, maybe, where you look competitive, lose these close competitive games, but ultimately the record is the same. And I would hope that maybe there's enough people there that can, say, nah, man, we're here with you. We're going to fight. And the people who are going to be there, they're going to be cheering and everything like that. But it's tough right now. It's tough if you're a Kings fan to sit up here and actively believe that this is going to be different this year.
Yeah, I'll say this, like, because I've covered this team for so long, from what was it, 1985 to 2006. I think there was only one season where they didn't sell out every single game. One season. And it was a season, not the year. Okay, so they made the playoffs in 1995-96, and that was the first time since the first year, right? The 1985-86 season. They hadn't made the playoffs in a decade. They made the playoffs. They almost made it in the 04-05 season, the 05-06 season. They made it. The 06-07, the wheels started to fall off the bus. The next year, before they became good, this is in 95-96. Yeah. The next season was the first season they ever didn't sell out every single game. And then as soon as they got good during the 1998-99 season with Vlade and Weber and Jason Williams rookie season, Peja's rookie season, they sold out every single game again until the 2005-2006 season. And so all of these years, like 2 decades, they sold out every single game. So I don't think Kings fans their loyalty should be tested. Since that time, they've won nothing. They tried to relocate the team twice. They've lost a bunch of stars. Every time that they think they've got something, they take a step back. I don't even know what the coach total is since that moment. I think it's like 11 coaches since the Adelman era ended. It's just, it's been tough. So I'm hoping that Kings fans, we hit year 5 of the building. I'm hoping that, like, the newness of the building isn't going to help you anymore. Yeah. I hope that fans realize that, some dark times that we understand, but at the same time, if this is your team, this is your team. And, standing up and cheering and trying to get them over the hump, trying to get them out of a funk and through a tough patch, that's what Kings fans are known for. And so, like, whether you're cheering for Spud Webb or Lionel Simmons, you got to show up for De'Aaron Fox and Tristan Thompson and Buddy Hield the same way.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You're listening to D'Lo Casey and James Ham here on ESPN 1320 KIFM, West Sacramento and Odyssey Station, and driven by Lashers, Elk Grove, Dodge. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube, on the Odyssey app, and on 1320 AM as well. James, live from the Golden One Center tonight. It's the Kings and the Raptors. This is an interesting stretch of basketball coming up for the Kings, and everyone is on high alert with the athletic report being out there on Monday and everything that has gone on with the team on that road trip. And the fan thing is interesting because we talked about this leading into the season. Oh, it's going to be great to have fans back. It's going to be great to have fans back. And this pandemic isn't over. And whether it's, protocols, which I absolutely think is part of the equation, getting tested or being vaccinated or getting all of those different things that go into going to a game, or it's just the fact that discretionary income is different, man. And these tickets are expensive. Going to the arena is expensive. Going out is expensive. And if that's what the Kings are relying on, and they're going to have to channel that bubble energy. They're going to have to channel that pandemic season energy, because obviously it's never going to be that extreme. But relying on Arco Thunder to make its appearance at the Golden One Center, that I don't think that's going to happen, at least not this year.
Hey, I think you're right, but you can get cheap tickets for this game. You can get in here for like an inexpensive cost. I would say this. Like last year, I sat in an empty building with cardboard cutouts all around me, and there was like 40 of us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, there were times last year where I wanted to go turn them around because I felt bad for them.
Over their head.
Yeah, that's just an embarrassment. Like some of the things we saw last year just wasn't okay. So, but here's my point. Like watching a game with like the 40 other people that were allowed on the mezzanine level, it was hard. It was hard to, for the players, it's hard for everybody. Like, how do you get up for a game? How do you keep showing up when we're literally like in a ghost town? And now it's kind of the reverse. Like, I think that there are so many people out there that are pro-vaccination and so many people that are anti-vaccination. And then, there are people that show up who have done their tests, but, then they don't want to wear their masks. And there are some people that show up who, they've been good through this whole thing and they're trying to avoid, contact. And then they show up to an arena and everyone's taking their mask off and just doing whatever they want. I think, again, there needs to be some sort of policing here that changes some of this, because I don't think you got a lot of people who are very uncomfortable and a lot of people are like, I don't care about any of you. And it's not really conducive to like being a fan together, because I think a lot of people in the arena are uncomfortable at this point. So again, my wife and boys went to Disneyland this last weekend. You can walk around Disneyland, like out in the main corridors with your mask off. Once you get in any line or you're in any line for any ride, there are people literally walking around telling you to put your mask on. And if you don't want to, you're out of the park. Mm-hmm. And so I would think that like being a little bit more vigilant about that specific situation here at Golden One Center would probably help a lot of people. But the Kings are they're walking a tightrope here. They're trying to appease too many people at one time, and it makes it very difficult. My son went to a game and he was with some friends and they said, oh, once you're sitting in your seats, you can take your mask off. And that's not the case. Unless you're eating or drinking, you have to have your mask on. That's just not the case in the arena. I've sat next to media members who just take their mask off the whole time. And it's like, well, them's aren't the rules. Like it's okay to have a bowl of popcorn and slow eat it for the next 20 minutes, but then put your mask back on. That's where we're at still. Yeah. And that's coming from someone who will openly admit that not only am I vaccinated, I've even had the booster shot already. But at the same time, like we need to be responsible and respectful of the people around us. And I don't think we're there yet. And so it makes being inside the arena a little strange.
Yeah. Shout out, Casey, real quick. Shout out to our man Jess, one of the original owners of the OK Drake Flow shirt. And, of course, Devil May Care, which is near the Golden One Center. He's saging downtown in an effort to get the Sacramento Kings to win tonight. He's out here doing the Lord's work. He is
Yes, indeed.
staging all of downtown to help the Kings get the dub. So Devil May Care, man. Shout out to y'all. Jess rocking that OK Drake flow shirt. That's where we at.
Big ups, man. Big ups. Also,
Kyrie Irving on. If he was a real one, he'd run around the court with it. But
that's what I'm looking for, really, to be honest with you. Also, because he said he was going to get out of here. Hopefully, he's still listening. But big ups, Tyler Jennings was in the chat, man. Our guy Tyler, man, and he's battling right now.
Yep.
Prayers up. Good to see you. Good to see that you're in the chat doing what you do. Appreciate you, Tyler, for sure. So James, about the basketball team now. I was talking to me and Damian were talking earlier, and we both kind of agreed on this. I feel like there's a level of panic that has set in with Luke Walton with what I feel are these constant drastic rotation changes and substitution patterns and things of that nature that probably took place over this road trip only. I don't know if it was necessarily going that way before the road trip, but during the road trip, seemed like he was all over the place. And he comes out as his press conference saying Metsu's getting 5 games and 3-guard lineup is gone and Bagley's back and all this other stuff. And it just seems frantic and panicked. And I think starting tonight, there needs to be like, all right, let's get that out the way. There's about 8-9 guys that I'm going to ride with for better or for worse right now. And we're going to get this done. Do you feel that same sense of panic coming from Luke Walton? And do you think the answer is to just strip it all down and get back to like 8, maybe 9 guys?
Yeah, see, that's what I would love to see. I know we saw it earlier in the season, and it was the back-to-back when the Kings played. They played Utah and then came back the next night, and they played Utah in Utah. They came back to Sacramento and played the Pelicans here at Golden One. And 2 nights in a row, Walton went with an 8-man rotation, same 8 guys, and said, like, this is my ride or die. And then 2 days later, they came back and played at home, and those same 8 guys had a panic moment in the second quarter where they were getting lambasted, and he had to go deep into the bench and ended up going 11. I think this is a moment right now where you choose your group that you're going to go with, your 8 guys, maybe 8.5, and you go with it. And you put it all out there and say, like, look, I don't care who else wants to play. This is a group that I have to play tonight. And hopefully that will help stabilize what's going on. But then you have to be, I mean, like we say that coming in, but how do you not make adjustments? And if tonight, you got Siakam who can shoot the 3 and that they're going to need they're going to need someone long and athletic to go defend him on the perimeter. And then tomorrow night you're going against the Utah Jazz. So I already know that right now we're already looking at 2 different groups of 8 because, Utah is nothing but 7-footers that smash you in the key, and you're going to need Alex Len tomorrow night for sure. So I think that there is like a group that we can kind of circle, but I want to see an 8-man rotation, even if tomorrow it's 7 of the same players with 1 man switched out. Like stabilize what's happening, figure out what's happening with the group, and then slowly pepper guys back in. And it's not that, somebody doesn't deserve a minute or 2 here or there. It's just that you have to tighten it up and figure out how to get back to the basics and get back to winning basketball. And that's something that I think Walton probably will do, because it's usually his default setting is to tighten it up.
Okay. There's more I want to get into regarding that. And you used one of my new favorite phrases on the Kings Beat podcast: live by the buddy, die by the buddy.
Oh my.
We're going to talk about that next here. We're going commercial free till the top of the 4 o'clock hour when we return with 1320 Kings insider James Ham live from the Golden One Center here on D-Lo and KC and Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. 2 quick notes. Everybody, if you're in YouTube right now, could you hit the thumbs up? You guys are doing a fantastic job already. You got us well over 100, but there's a lot of people in here right now. So if you could hit that thumbs up, that would be a big deal. And 2, I have no idea why I stuck with the pandemic stuff, or the arena stuff. I should have moved on from that. So that was fucking dumb. That's me, man. Sorry, James. Sorry, everybody.
No,
it's okay.
James had made the point, and I don't know why James made the point, and instead of James making the point, I was like, oh, let's keep talking about this. That was dumb.
I think on occasion though, like I'm reading this and I'm watching, again, like those posts out there, like it's tough. Like this is a difficult situation that I think that it's delicate, and I have my own opinion, but at the same time, like you got to be able to see other people's point of view. And so I don't know. I definitely think that like there are enough people that out there that should be looking at this is an opportunity to go to a couple of games on the cheap, and you got a weekend. It's a Friday and Saturday. What do you got going on? Thanksgiving is coming up. Your kids already have a light school schedule. Like, get out to a game if you can. And again, I know it's tough because so many people. You got to put a mask on a 2-year-old, and you have to have a negative test for a 2-year-old.
That's tough.
And that's not the Kings. That's the state of California setting, or the city of Sacramento setting their rules. So yeah, man, I don't think it's not a topic that people like want to talk about all the time, but at the same time, it's also a topic that people do have to like, we have to have these difficult discussions on occasion about what's happening.
Yeah.
So
that's part of the story, man. It's part of it's the reality of what's going on, man.
Yeah. I don't even add, like, people are they hitting the plus button?
No, they are. Yeah, definitely. You can't. Yeah, I have YouTube up on a different screen. Gotcha. They're taking care of us. They're taking care of us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. I'll
also say this, man. So many people have been locked in their houses for so long that some of the stuff I've seen inside the arena, like the craziness, the fight stuff, it's weird. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. Like, people are not socialized at this point. There are a lot of people.
Dude, that's for real. Like the getting reacclimated with society. Like, I get anxiety when I leave my house. Like, not anxiety because of just I'm here with my dogs all day. So when I have to leave for an extended period of time, like I legit, like I start, I start getting to Dave Chappelle's. Like I start getting antsy.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Get anxiety, man.
I'm not breaking news with that, but it's just changed everything. Even when you're like you said, if you're in I don't know if there's such thing as a safe environment, but a relatively controlled environment, just leaving the house for too long. Like, I don't feel right now. Put your head stuff like that. So it's great.
And people keep asking what I drink at Starbucks. Normally, I drink a venti skinny caramel macchiato.
I'm about to say that's a venti right there.
Today, this is a hot tea. They have something ball, like medicine ball or something, hot tea that I drink.
That's delicious.
Yeah, I've been down here for quite some time, so I needed just a little bit more caffeine, a little bit more everything else to keep me awake for the next 7 hours.
Need to get a white chocolate mocha, extra white chocolate.
He's gonna crash. Like, that's a cup of sugar.
This is just hot tea.
Yeah, no, Kenny drinks a cup of sugar and calls it coffee.
It's a white chocolate mocha with extra pump of white chocolate. That is not just sugar.
I do the skinny, and people go, why do you do skinny? And it's because it's 400 calories less than a regular caramel macchiato.
Kenny does extra calories.
I gotta be honest with you. And this needs to look, I gotta be better. I've never looked at calories. Never. I don't know what
the diabetes is real.
I've never looked at calories. It's like, calories? I don't know.
You get to a certain age where you start watching the calories and you're like,
I'm there. Now. Like, I need to change that.
Says the guy who's probably going to drink a bottle of champagne tonight just because you can't put the bottle back. Like, that's dumb.
No.
So you just drink it till it's gone. Like, it's like that's a single serving size.
Ask me how many sodas I had last night, Amy.
Oh, Jesus, Kenny, hang on. Soda Kenny is back. He's got soda in the house.
Come on, man. I gotta get it out.
He's chugging them two at a time. We welcome you back to the show, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be commercial free till the top of the hour. It is the Kings and the Raptors tonight at the Golden One Center, our 1320 Kings insider and host of the Kings Beat podcast and the tremendous work you do over there at the Kings Beat, James Ham, with us here. We've been singing the praises of your latest podcast with Sean Cunningham all day. And you've coined my new favorite phrase, because I don't think we use this phrase, but we certainly talked about Buddy Hield's influence on the offense and how we've regularly talked about, this team needs a closer, this team needs a closer. And it feels like they're just waiting for Buddy to like, come on, Buddy, you be the one to take us home. And you and Sean coined it, live by the Buddy, die by the Buddy. And that's what this team is doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's so tough because Buddy does whatever Buddy does wrong. It's unintentional, like there's some people that you play sports with that you're like, man, I don't believe that you meant to do it. Like, or you look at them and you're like, you almost did that intentionally. You try to stretch a single into a double, knowing that number one, you're slow, and number two, that you were never going to get there. So like, that's on you. With Buddy, I always get the feeling like he doesn't mean to do wrong. It just happens. So when I was, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So let's just
go check out the Kings Beat podcast at 4:00.
Yeah, the Kings Beat podcast. That certainly, like, I think the cool thing. I'm just gonna stay there for 1 sec. The cool thing about the podcast, because like I've had some really good podcast partners, and like we've had some really, like I've done a podcast. This is like 11 years. I think I've had a pod. And the thing with Sean and I is we have so much knowledge from the last, I mean, he's 20 years in, I'm 12 years in. We got like 32 years worth of knowledge. And so we've gotten to a point though, where we're like, okay, let's just put it out there. Let's just do it. So if you're not listening, I hope that you would, because like we talk openly about a lot of things here, and you guys ask a lot of really good questions, but there's something different about two guys who have so much knowledge about one specific subject that when we get on a topic, it's like I let something slip that maybe I haven't said before, and then Sean let something slip, and then it becomes really a discussion between two guys that probably have way too much knowledge that should not be having a podcast together at that moment. So again, I hope you're listening, but the Buddy Hield situation, look, the other night he started out 0 for 6 from 3 and 0 for 6 from the field. And then it was like, okay, I can't hit anything. I probably should go to the basket. Well, he was so cold that even that didn't work. And by the time you got to almost the end of the second quarter, he was 0 for 9 from the field.
Jeez.
And I think he finished with 1 bucket in the first half, but he had shot them like so far out of it. And it wasn't just him. There are other people who were missing shots as well. But when you have a shot maker like that, you almost like you become overly reliant on the fact that he's going to save the day at some point in the game. And then you also have to understand what impact he has on the players around him. If he's taking 9 shots in the first half and he's not hitting any of them, that's at least 4 or 5 shots that probably somebody else should have got. Because if you're proving that you're not on that night, then you probably need to move off the ball, and you need to like be a floor spacer, but a floor spacer for other people. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes a point where everyone keeps trying to get Buddy going, but he's sucking the air out of everyone else because it's not going down. And that's where it's like Buddy Hield has never shot a shot that he wasn't trying to make. I know he wants to make every shot he throws up there. There's 1 or 2 shots a game where I know very specifically, I don't care who he is, he's not hitting that shot. But that's once or twice a game. That's okay. And then you get to the third quarter, and the only chance you have to stay with the Timberwolves, once you let Karl Anthony Towns heat up and you start to, Russell starts hitting some shots and Ant-Man starts hitting some shots, you're in trouble. The only chance you have in that game is that Buddy Hield gets on a heater and keeps you in it where you're only down 3. And that's what happened. And so this Kings team just gets in this mode where you're either going to win or lose a game if Buddy Hield is hot or Buddy Hield's cold. If he's cold, you're done. If he's not, you got a shot. And you got to keep riding it out. And that's probably, it's just not the way it should be. Really, it's not, because it should be more of a team game. It should be more of, if he's not hot, then let's get someone else in there, or let's get somebody else involved that can help out, and let's do something different. So it's not every game that I feel that way with Buddy, but for a lot of the games, it's, he's probably one of the reasons why you're either going to win or lose like 60% of your games.
And for the most part this year, I continue to say it, I don't have a huge problem with Buddy's role and the way that he plays, because that's his role kind of as a sixth man. But man, it's a sixth man on steroids sometimes. Like it's a lot. And if you're trying to change that, whose responsibility is that? Is it, because I don't know if Buddy can play with a regular green light. He needs the neon green light, or else he's just going to, it feels like if he doesn't have the neon green light, he's just going to fall apart and not do anything for you. Right. So is kind of what Luke is facing right now is, I have to allow him the freedom to kind of do whatever, or else I'm losing him completely. Like, is that kind of what you feel when it comes with Buddy?
I think a lot of it, like, that's a little bit like, you've got to give him a neon green, and he does. He has a neon green, and rightfully so. I mean, he's one of the great 3-point shooters. Realistically, at this point, you can even say, like, in the history of the NBA, he's one of the great 3-point shooters. Now, clearly, he's not like a Hall of Famer, but he is a outstanding 3-point shooter. So you want him shooting. And the other problem Walton has is, in order for your offense to work, you have to have 3-point shots in order to get the spacing that you need for De'Aaron Fox, or for, Harrison Barnes, or for Rashawn Holmes work the pick and roll. You have got to have that type of shooting on the perimeter. So all of that makes sense. I don't know that when I hear Walton say, I'm okay with Buddy Hield shooting 17 3-pointers, like, I actually, like, I'm looking for a remote control or something to throw at the podium, because I don't know that anybody should ever shoot 17 3-pointers outside of one guy, and that's Steph Curry. And he can shoot them from the other free throw line. I don't care, because he's going to hit 50% from the other free throw line. Like, whatever it is, he's got some sort of magic wand that he does that, I mean, it's amazing. So look, I think you have to understand that Luke is in a position where he's reliant on guys like Buddy to do what he does in order for everything else to make sense. And I saw someone in here, I think it was John Bull again. We just keep calling you out, John. Again, for stock tips as much as anything else. But the key that is that by Buddy doing what he's doing on the bench, it has basically eliminated Terrence Davis completely. Terrence Davis can't be that guy too, because you can't have two of those guys. Like, there's never been a Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford combination. Like, that doesn't work. Now you can have a Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell combination that works, because you're looking at a pick and roll, like nightmare matchup for people. But what you can't have is, Buddy does need to make someone else better. And I think Terrence Davis, unfortunately, has been caught up in sort of what's happened, where Buddy just has free reign to do whatever he's doing off the bench. And it's also why I think that, like, if the Kings were to trade Buddy Hield, you have Buddy Hield 2.0 sitting on your bench waiting for the opportunity to be that guy. And so if you do need to rebalance your roster, there is that option now. I just thought that coming into this season, number one, the 3-guard sets would probably work better than they have. And number two, that it would be 5 guys sharing, a lot of minutes between 3 positions. And that's just not the way it's worked out, because they haven't played well together. Like, some of those guys, you need to figure out ways to help each other get better. And a lot of the issues this team has is that nobody is really working hard to make the players around them better. And until that happens, until they figure out how to create for each other and not just wait for De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Halliburton to create for them, then they're going to keep having these moments where they look great and then they don't. And that's kind of where I'm at.
So Terrence Davis, his lack of minutes are a byproduct of Buddy Hield. Is Mo Harkless, DNP, CD a byproduct of now all of a sudden Marvin Bagley's back in the rotation?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't play everybody. Like this isn't Little League, so not everybody's got to have their 3 innings.
No, I get that, but like Mo Harkless was starting like a week ago. Now he's not even playing.
Well, the biggest issue that they had was that their rebounding numbers were just horrible, and they're getting killed on the glass. And in order to change that, I think the knee-jerk reaction was like an overreaction there. I do think that there's a possibility, there is a way where Chimezie Metu can start and Mo Harkless can still be in the rotation. But when they went to a bigger front lineup, that meant that they were going to go to less 3-guard sets. And some of the 3-guard sets have worked really well, and we're still seeing those peppered in throughout the day. So the 3-guard set, like, it's not over and done with. We still see Harrison Barnes playing a bunch of minutes at the 4 and playing with, you know, whoever it is at the 5 at that moment, whether it's Tristan or whether it's Rashawn Holmes. I think we're still going to see plenty of 3-guard sets. We're just not going to see that as the first thing that we see. And the only thing that we see, which is kind of where we got, where it was just 3-guard sets all the time. They just didn't play well enough. And Luke had told them very specifically, he said it early on, because we kept saying, hey, what are you going to do about rebounding? He said, well, as long as the guards hold up their end of the bargain and rebound, then we'll keep running it out there. The second that they don't is the second we got to go away from it. And that's what's happened. Like you get lambasted on the boards a bunch of times, and you're doing 3-guard sets. And those 3-guard sets are mainly shooting perimeter shots. They're missing those perimeter shots. It just creates this cycle where, you know, you're shooting yourself out of games, but also you're getting out rebounded because you're not hitting perimeter shots. And, you know, we saw it against Indiana. There's been a couple of games where the Kings could not shoot at all. And those are games where you have to have rebounders. And so that's where you got to switch it up.
So, okay. I'm digesting all this. This is good stuff, man. I'm digesting it, trying to figure out what's going on. Let me back up a little bit. Marvin Bagley. What's up with that? Is it pure? I said, let me just ask that. Is it pure?
Are Luke Walton's intentions with Marvin Bagley pure?
Okay. Like, I mean, I guess you're asking, is it like a showcase? Is it?
Yeah, he says they need rebounding. Is it okay? We're going to play Marvin because we need rebounding, or are there other motives?
I'm just going to tell you, like, when it comes to Marvin, it's almost like he has no opportunity to succeed here, really, because he hasn't played in so long. And then you put him back out there and it's like, okay, so when we talk about showcase, the only showcase that I could possibly see when you're in Detroit is just show Detroit that, yes, Marvin Bagley, like, one of his feet did not fall off. He actually can step on a court and play. Like, he can actually like run up and down the court. So that to me was, if you're going to look at that as a showcase game, then that's what it was. It was like, look, the dude is still alive. Outside of that, I don't get it, because he's been put so far on the shelf, and then he's now being asked to be someone who he's never been, and that's a problem. So, like, Chimezie Metu understands the assignment. He does. He gets it. Like, go stand in the corner and shoot the 3. Go stand at the elbow and shoot the 3. Hustle. Go run in and try to do some highlight reel dunk. Go try to do grab some big time rebound. Well, none of that is really Marvin. Like, Marvin wants to go to the block and put his hand up and get a pass down low and then go to work. And that's fine. But again, Marvin is being asked to defend perimeter guys, which has never been a strong suit. He still ducks his head every time he runs at a shooter on the perimeter. I don't understand it at all. How he still does the same exact thing. So he goes from a 6'11" dude to a 5'3" guy running at a shooter. I'm not sure why that hasn't been like taught out of him, but it's something that he continues to do. And so now you got Marvin Bagley trying to defend the perimeter, which he's never been good at. He's not playing any at the 5, which I think he's always been better suited to play the 5. And you're just running into these problems that, here you go. You got like 12 minutes. Let's see what you got. And so now his numbers look like what you would expect. That's what, like, I don't blame Marvin for his numbers. He's trying to be someone and do something off the bench that he's never had the opportunity to really work on, but also like he just feels like he's out of place. And you can keep saying, oh, it's because our rebound numbers are bad. Okay, well, then just run different rotations but again, a guy like Mo Harkless can still play. Just make sure he's with a couple of rebounders on the court. That makes sense to me. But yeah, it's awkward. And I hope that that Marvin, if he's going to get a run here, like he needs more like 18 to 20 minutes. He needs to start settling in, and he has no chance to settle in at this point because it's okay. That didn't work. Let's go back to a different group. And I think Marvin does have plenty to give, but this isn't his style of offense. This isn't really his style of play. And he also isn't doing the things that Chimezi's doing, which is standing there at the 3-point line, waiting to shoot. Every time Marvin keeps getting it at that elbow, he isn't ready to shoot. And then he starts to take out somebody off the dribble. It's like, that's not the plan. The plan is for you to stand there and shoot the 3 to space the floor for other people. And so he's not comfortable. And that's what I see. And I feel bad for him because on the court, like, I don't think this is the right way to bring him back in. If you're going to bring him in, give him a big time run and let him get comfortable again and let him settle in and then see if you got something.
James, this just feels like desperation to me. It's like Kenny was talking about panic earlier. This just feels like Luke is desperate and he's trying to, like, you guys brought this up. What was the point in saying Chimezie Metu's having like a 5-game tryout, or that wasn't the exact word that he used, but a 5-game stint as the starter and was going to reevaluate? Like, what was the purpose of that?
That's kind of always been like the way that they do things, though. Like, hey, we're going to try this for 5 games and we're going to reassess. And then what does that mean? Because I don't know what that means. If they try for 5 games, they reassess. Does that mean that Harkless is now back in? Does that mean that now they're going to move like Harrison Barnes to the 4 and start someone else at the 3? Does it mean that
we're starting Marvin? Just
all of a sudden Marvin gets a bunch of starts? Yeah, I mean, I really do think that it, and again, like, there's a comment here. Marvin should go to Stockton. I don't disagree. Like, not to punish Marvin, go down there and go get your rhythm, find yourself, come on back up in a week. But that's not what we've seen. We've seen like, okay, you haven't played in a long time. Let's just go ahead and throw you out there. And Marvin needs to be ready because we've seen other players that are just ready. Chimezie Metu, he was ready. Like, somebody said, hey, this is what we need from you. Okay, I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And he brought that. Now, did he have a perfect outing in the second? No, but he had, an okay outing, a really good outing, a really bad outing where, you couldn't, you had like the big old long hook ripping him off the court. But at some point you do have to stick with something and let it ride out and try to give yourself enough of a sample size where you can see if it worked or it didn't. And there is a lot of tinkering going on right now, but that's why, having things like, hey, your coach is on the hot seat, that doesn't always help.
Mm-hmm. James, Davion Mitchell, what's your assessment of the way that he's played as of late? And I asked that because it's not like to me, it's not like he's been bad out there, but the wave that was Davion in the first 2 weeks of the season about the difference maker that he was on defense and some of the things he could do on offense has seemed to die down a little bit lately, man. And it seems like he's really up and down now offensively. And then defensively, I think the memo's gone around and teams are kind of, I don't want to say taking him out on the defensive end, but they're not allowing any one-on-one battles with Davion Mitchell. It's just like, we're going to go screen and roll, and you're going to have to either fight over a screen, get caught on one, and we'll work around it that way. What have you seen from Davion in the last couple of weeks or so?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's a pick-and-roll league, like, that. Mm-hmm. So, like, he has to make adjustments. I don't – it's tough because he's a young player, but he's not. And so you want him to be further along because he is coming into the season as like a 23-year-old, well, almost 23, I think at this point. But I'll also say this: we're what, game 15,
15.
right?
Yeah.
That's half as many games as he played in his entire college season last year, right? And I think with the way he works, it's very possible that he's overworked himself dramatically trying to get better, trying to fit in, trying to do the things. And he's known as such a worker. And now it's like, hey, I got to keep working. Well, I don't want to say the rookie wall is already hit, but it's very possible with all the travel, with all of the adjustments and everything else, that like he is a little bit exhausted. And then I also think like he's trying to show, like one night he's trying to show he's a scorer. Another night he's like, okay, I'm going to show you I'm a distributor. And then another night it's like, okay, I am the lockdown guy that has one assignment and this is all I'm going to do. What we haven't seen is him be able to string all three of those things together at one time. And that's something that I think it's the one piece to Tyrese Halliburton that everyone was so impressed with right away. It was like, wow, he can just do everything, right? Like, is he a great defender? Probably not. Does he get pushed off, his line? Sure. But at the same time, you looked at him and you're like, man, he can score, he can pass. We can see him get a bunch of steals. Like, he was able to string those things together in almost every game. So if you looked at his box score, the box score is full, where Davion has kind of been someone who fills up one or two categories every single game. So does he have to be better? Yes. Is he caught up in this whole Buddy shooting 0 for 9? Sure. He's caught up in that too. Like those are some of those shots could have gone to Davion Mitchell. And then do I feel like sometimes he's rushing and trying to get off a shot that maybe didn't make a lot of sense because he hasn't touched the ball and he's trying to get a rhythm and all that? Like, I think there's a lot to this, but I think he's more his issues that we're seeing are more of a symptom of the rest of the team right now than an underlying, issue that he has. He's a young player trying to fit into an NBA team who's playing considerable amount of minutes for a guy who, like a couple of months ago was playing at the college level. It doesn't matter how old he is. There's still an adjustment period.
Yeah, true.
There was a lot of talk last year, James, about how that closing lineup when the Kings were there was a stretch of ball where the Kings were doing well, and I think it was Tyrese and De'Aaron and Buddy Harrison. I don't remember who it is. But it was Tyrese and De'Aaron. Now that was closing games. That was always the closing lineup. That was talking about the way this team was closing. But now there seems to be some concern that Tyrese and De'Aaron are having trouble playing together. And I guess this is exclusively for starting the games because as we saw last year, they played well together at the end of games. How did this storyline brew up? And do you think these two are having trouble starting games together?
Again, I think there's always going to be an adjustment period for everybody. And, for as much Tyrese played 30 minutes a game last season, but you might want to circle the 18 minutes he didn't play, because a lot of those 18 minutes he didn't play were the first 9 minutes of the game where it is the grown men going at each other, the starters in the league going at each other. He has to make an adjustment to the physicality of the players he's going up against. I think the biggest thing I'll point to is what we saw with Pat Bev. Just like there were some tough moments to watch there on both ends, where I think Tyrese was caught off guard by the physicality that Pat Bev played with just when he was trying to make passes. And then on the other end, I mean, it's not an offensive player who hits you for like 14 or 15 points. That like there's going to be moments where he has to make an adjustment and he has to be ready for what's different. The closing lineup, the closing lineup was Fox, Halliburton, Hield, Barnes, and Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah.
And it was so good. It really, like, statistically speaking, it was really good. And I would like to see that again, them getting back to that and really relying on that group at the end of games. But that's also the same group that's faded in the fourth. So maybe some people are making some adjustments. They're taking away the pick and roll for Rashawn Holmes. They're getting up into Tyrese Halliburton, which makes him not able to run that pick and roll with Holmes nearly as much. I think you got a lot of guys who were passing the ball much better last season than they are this year. Guys like Harrison Barnes and guys like Buddy Hield, who are seeing their assist numbers, their assist percentages plummet because they're just taking on different roles as scorers. And I just think that overall, this team has lost some of their identity that they had last season. And that wasn't a great version of the Kings, but they're trying for some other version and they're kind of lost in the middle. Plus, you have certain games where you need Davion to shut somebody down late in a game, right?
Mhm.
And so you're going to ask him to be part of that closing lineup. Well, that has a cause and effect for everyone else. Guys are sagging off. They're allowing him a lot more, like, go ahead and do your thing. If Davion Mitchell is the one who's going to beat us, then we lost. Okay, that's fine. We'll take that. But we're not going to let Fox, we're not going to let Halliburton, we're not going to let the pick and roll beat us. We're going to let the kid try to beat us. And so I just think that again, we're so young in the season, and that's not an excuse, but this team is really, they're only 3 games under 500. And I think that there's like this alarm sounding, this bell that's just chiming, and everyone's screaming and yelling. The sky is
very
falling.
loud. Yes.
Yeah, the sky is falling. And it's like, at some point you do have to like take a step back and just breathe and say, okay, like, what if they go 9-6 over their next 15 games and they're at 500? And that's possible. Then again, you can't blow easy games against bad opponents, which we've seen in the last week. And then you have to respect the schedule. And I think that that's something, that's kind of what Tristan Thompson was talking about, just a lack of respect for what was in front of you. And then when you get to the end of it and you're looking back, there's a lot of regret. And
we want our 40 acres, James.
Yeah.
We want our 40 acres. We're coming for someone's neck. We want to overreact to everything.
And look, the other thing about that, though, James, is if anybody knows what a sky falling looks like, it's us. So we're looking at it, we're like, this looks familiar. This looks like when the sky falls.
And that's probably the biggest front. I've seen this again. I've seen this movie before. That's the most frustrating part. We've been through all of this. You've been through all of this.
Yeah, it's the trained response, right? The sky, because you're just waiting for it. You're waiting for the drama. You're waiting for Sam Amick to post that Luke Walton's job is in jeopardy. And that's not on Sam. That's on the information he has.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what you're constantly waiting for the shoe to drop. And that's it. It's unfortunate, but I mean, it's 15 years, the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, that like Luke Walton's, the timer's ticking because no coach Dave Yeager is the only one to finish out 3 years. Since Rick Adelman left. He's the only one to finish out 3 years. And the day after he finished his 3 years, he was done. See ya. He was fired by 8:30 the next morning.
Jeez.
I mean, that's the way that this franchise has gone. So until you settle
mentally,
in,
he was fired about 4 weeks prior.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't that last game, the game where they dropped 82 in the first quarter, in the first half, and lost to 6 players.
Yeah.
Including Scal Labissiere.
Or something like that. Anthony Simons killed him.
Yeah.
They were about
Scal.
30 in that game and lost.
Yeah.
So, James, I do understand what you're talking about when you talk about it's early enough to say it's early, right? Like, I get that. And I thought coming into the season that this was a team that absolutely should be in that play-in scenario. And I still think that hasn't changed. I will admit, confidence has wavered. That was a gut punch what I saw on that 4-game road trip. I didn't like that. Once again, I've seen the sky fall before. This looks like it, but I'm not fully convinced that the sky is falling. Where do you stand with this team at this very moment? Do you still think that this is a team that should be in that play-in scenario, or are they kind of hopeless, like a penny with a hole in it right now?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that they're still in it. There's still plenty of time for them to figure this out. I'll also tell all the people in your chat that James has a degree in U.S. history, modern U.S. history from University of California, Davis. So yes, I know exactly what his reference was. I'm not touching it.
I knew you saw it. Like
I saw it. I'm not touching the 40-acre comment. I'm not. And so look, we can have a moment here where yes, I do actually like. Yes, I
James
have a
is
good
for the
understanding.
culture. Come on, people.
Yeah,
James knows what it's all
I
about.
have an understanding, but look, we're in this perpetual cycle of here we go again. And back to your point, Kenny, like the here we go again. And until this franchise and this team shows that that's not who they are, then I don't think anyone should get overly hyped until we got 5 games left in a season or 10 games left into a season, and you're not just in it, but you actually have a lead. You actually are 2 games up in the standings or 3 games up in the standings, and the standings are favorable, and you think you got a shot, then I don't think anyone should ever be super comfortable because, you know, when they tell you who they are, that's who they are, you know. Don't let somebody fool you. Like they need to show that they can figure it out and get through it.
Yeah.
Not Kings related, but
Okay, Lake Show.
LeBron James will make his LeBron James. We got news. LeBron James will make his return against the Boston Celtics tonight. He's missed 2 weeks.
Okay, Lake Show. Oh, he didn't.
Yeah.
Drop.
And look, the Kings are on the schedule coming up.
Oh, now can
imagine that.
Rehab assignment. That's the way he's looking at it. Rehab assignment next Friday. No,
we got to be ready.
James, I got to ask you real quick, man. The Sac State Hornets, is that easy work for you guys on Saturday?
Man, I went to Davis and I never went to a single football or basketball game. You know, I don't have time for local college sports.
FCS, what are they? FBS or FCS? FCS football.
Yeah, I don't have time for it typically. I mean, I've lived here forever, so I know like the Causeway Classic's huge. And I don't love college football no matter what. And college basketball I hit later. I don't love college football because I used to bet football quite a bit. And there's nothing worse than not only betting a 45-point spread, but then thinking about one team is 45 points better than the other by experts.
That's unhealthy.
They feel comfortable enough. And then it's like, look, that's not really a sport. That's like if the JV and the varsity team play against each other, like, what are you going to do? Like, who do you expect? You know? So again, like I would love to, like, I'm not sure about the college sports scene here.
I'm going for Sac State.
Yeah. I get the stingers up all the time. And it's like, look, I went to Davis. No stingers up. So yeah, sorry. Like I am an Aggie, but yeah.
We're back here. We're back here Monday. What do you think the landscape of the Kings looks like headed into that game against Philadelphia at the Golden One Center?
If I knew that answer,
any my bads over the next few days.
Well, I know there's always going to be my bads because the my bads, you know, they're here.
You've got.
There should be like for
Kings
every
Beat podcast, 9 minutes and counting. Go straight to it. It's worth it.
And one time we thought the scores, now they're the my bads.
Yeah, we got the scores. Somebody needs to make the my bads, and I probably should have already done that. I made the my bads t-shirts so I could promote them and sell them.
My could be the new merch on Ham's website. You got to have merch, James. Come on, man. You got to have merch.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's down the road. That's when James has time. So.
Oh, that's true.
I'm with you. Yeah, the my bads got to go. The my bads, like that the culture of my bads is the worst. And again, we did talk about it on the pod. But you know, we all have played sport. If most people have played sports, and you've been around that guy, you know who that guy is, and there's nothing more frustrating because the my bad guy doesn't do it once. He does it like 8 times, and you just, you know, I even brought up softballs. Like, you want to make fun of me because all I hit is singles to right field. I go oppo all the time. Well, I'm standing at first base while you fly out every single time. And I don't want to hear my bad. I want to hear, hey, thanks for scoring and getting me an RBI, because I can score from first on a double that's 10 feet high and skips to the fence.
James, I'm hitting bombs. I don't care what you say.
That's right. You're not on my team.
And to be completely fair to everybody, I get both sides of this discussion. Panicking and being frustrated and being angry that we just came off this disastrous trip, which we had set our expectations for to be better, and wanting to fire this guy, trade this guy, do this, do that. And then I also get we're 15 games into an 82 game season.
Yeah,
They're
it's my fault.
A game out of the 10 spot.
It's my fault. I'm the one who told you to that they needed to go 3-1 at least.
Well, I thought that too. I blame it on Kenny. Kenny said 2-2 is good enough. They didn't even do that. It's actually Kenny's fault. Damn. That's what I do. Anytime something goes wrong, I just blame Kenny.
I'm with Tristan. We talked about it. We talked through it. I've talked through the frustrations. I'm with Tristan. I hope the people out there at the G1C tonight, let's try and bring these boys home tonight, man. Let's see what we can do. All right. I'll be there.
Well, you'll be there.
I'll be here.
I can't cheer.
James is there now. They need to put a sign. It just needs to be the James Ham area. I know there's no chance anyone else is there.
Oh no. I did see someone walk by. One other person's here. So I need a cot. And I could use my own cubicle. That would be nice if I have my own cubicle.
No one is spending 12, 13, 14 to 15 hours at the gym like James Ham is.
I've almost been here 6 hours. Honestly.
That's a lot.
And the game don't start till 7.
That's you still got 3 hours before the game. You can't even go to the court yet.
No.
Yeah. James is actually broadcasting from Golden One jail. This is where he's just downstairs in the
I'm telling you,
Golden One jail.
Extra pump of white chocolate. Go handle that.
No, please don't. You'll have a massive headache for the next 6 hours. We'll be following you tonight on James on social media. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to everyone for hanging out.